Godiva by Alfred Lord Tennyson. I waited for the train at Coventry. I hung with grooms and porters on the bridge to watch the three tall spires, and there I shaped the city's ancient legend into this. Not only we, the latest seed of time, new men that in the flying of a wheel cry down the past, not only we that prate of rights and wrongs that have loved the people well, and loath to see them overtaxed, but she did more and underwent and overcame, the woman of 1,000 summers back, Godiva, wife to that grim earl who ruled in Coventry, for when he laid a tax upon his town, and all the mothers brought their children, clamouring, if we pay, we starve. She sought her lord, and found him where he strode about the hall among his dogs alone, his beard a foot before him, and his hair a yard behind. She told him of their tears, and prayed him, if they pay this tax, they'd starve. Whereat he stared, replying half amazed, will you not let your little finger ache for such as these? But I would die, said she. He laughed and swore by Peter and by Paul, then flipped at the diamond in her ear. Oh, aye, you talk, alas, she said, but prove me what I would not do. And from a heart as rough as Esau's hand, he answered, ride you naked through the town, and I repeal it. And nodding as in scorn, he parted with great strides amongst his dogs. So left alone, the passions of her mind, as winds from all the compass shift and blow, made war among each other for an hour, till pity won, she sent a herald forth, and bade him cry with sound of trumpet all the hard condition, but that she would lose the people therefore, as they loved her well. From then till noon no foot should pace the street, no eye look down she passing, but that all should keep within, door shut and window barred. Then fled she to her innermost bower, and there unclasped the wedded eagles of her belt, the grim earl's gift, but ever at a breath she lingered, looking like a summer moon, half dipped in cloud. Anon she shook her head, and showered the rippled ringlets to her knee. She unclad herself in haste down the stair, stole on, and like a creeping sunbeam slid from pillar to pillar until she reached the gateway. There she found her palfrey trapped, in purple blazoned with armorial gold. There she rode forth, clothed on with chastity. The deep air listened round her as she rode, and all the low wind hardly breathed for fear. The little wide-mouthed heads upon the stout bout had cunning eyes to see. The barking cur made her cheek flame, her palfrey's foot fall shot. Light horrors drew her pulses. The blind walls were full of chinks and holes, and overhead fantastic gables crowding stared. But she, not less through all, bore up till at last she saw the white-flowered elder thicket from the field gleam through the Gothic archway in the wall. There she rode, clothed on with chastity, and one low churl compact of thankless earth, the fatal byword of all the years to come. Boring a little auger hole in fear, peeped, but his eyes, before they had their will, were shrivelled into darkness in his head, and dropped before him. So the powers who wait on noble deeds cancelled a sense misused. And she that knew not passed, and all at once, with 12 great shocks of sound, the shameless noon was clashed and hammered from 100 towers, one after one. But even then she gained her bower, whence, reissuing robed and crowned, to meet her lord she took the tax away, and built herself an everlasting name. The Story of Lady Godiva by Roger of Wendover. The Countess Godiva, who was a great lover of God's mother, longing to free the town of Coventry from the oppression of a heavy toll, often with urgent prayers besought her husband that, from regard to Jesus Christ and his mother, he would free the town from that service, and from all other heavy burdens. And when the earl sharply rebuked her for foolishly asking what was so much to his damage, and always forbade her evermore to speak to him on the subject, and while she, on the other hand, with a woman's pertinacity, never ceased to exasperate her husband on the matter, he at last made her this answer: mount your horse and ride naked before all the people through the market of this town from one end to the other, and on your return you shall have your request. On which Godiva replied, but will you give me permission if I am willing to do it? I will, said he. Whereupon the countess, beloved of God, loosed her hair, let down her tresses, which covered the whole of her body like a veil, and then, mounting her horse, and attended by 2 knights, she rode through the marketplace without being seen, except her fair legs. And having completed the journey, she returned with gladness to her astonished husband, and obtained of him what she had asked. For Earl Leofric freed the town of Coventry and its inhabitants from the aforesaid service, and confirmed what he had done by a charter. The incident of the peeping Tom was not added to the story until the 17th century. This story was originally written, or has roots leading back to dates including the 13th century and the 11th century. The real Lady Godiva lived in Coventry between the 11th century and the most modern form of the myth, or this legend that we know of, includes the Lady Godiva telling the people of Coventry to stay away that day when she was riding through the town, that they should not look at her, that they should not be in the streets, but that because she was doing this to help them all. And as they all loved her, and as they all admired her and what she was trying to do for them, all of them obliged, except one, the original Peeping Tom. And in the retelling of this legend, which has Peeping Tom, because she was so loved by people and by God, because he had gone back on his word, and he watched her and he saw her naked as she was riding through the town, he was blinded by God for his for breaking his promise to not look at her, to not watch her as she rode through the town. And that is the story of Lady Godiva and the poem by Alfred Tennyson.